What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to give you a good overview of the upcoming Q1 earnings that is set for Monday after hours. In addition to that, I want to talk on some latest updates and why it is advantageous to invest in Lucid, especially with some updates from the PIF in Saudi Arabia. So I'm going to go over all that. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So starting off, in case you guys do not know, May the 8th, so on Monday after hours, that is where you're going to have the Q1 earnings. And a lot of people, including myself, do believe that this is going to be the last bad earnings, especially if you're one of those individuals that likes to follow the transcripts like myself. They did signal in Q4, for the most part, every single scenario that is going to happen in 2023. And Q1, they kind of said that there was going to be a little bit more tighter margins potentially. But Q2 and onwards, things seem to be looking better, especially as well based on Bear's Workshop. You do see a lot more deliveries, most likely internationally. So definitely this might be a little bit more of an interesting earnings, but like I said, if it does prompt a little bit more of a sell-off, I think that will be bought up very fast. But like I said, I'll give you guys a quick overview of what to expect, but there is right here that submit a question. So typically they answer the top 3 questions posed by retail. So this is one of the rare scenarios that investors can actually ask a question to management. In some cases, I have answered 5, but in most cases, it's always been around 3. So it's interesting to see the number 1 question that was brought on by Paul. And it does say, Peter, you've said, I just like to underpromise and like to over-deliver. You promised 20,000 deliveries in 2022, 49 in 2023. We got 4,000 in 2022, and guidance is just over about 10 to 14,000 in 2023. When will we see underpromising and over-delivering? It has been a complete opposite so far. So this is going to be a very interesting earnings to see, hands down, if they actually answer this question. This is kind of an interesting one, and hopefully Peter does answer it legitimately, because that's been one of my pet peeves in the past, is just Lucid, Sherry and Peter more specifically, are unable to just answer difficult questions. They kind of tiptoe around the actual question and just start talking on technology and so forth. So hopefully they do actually answer this, because I think a lot of people truly want to know exactly why there is only 10 to 14,000 when supposedly there's a huge amount of reservations for the pier. And keep in mind, they're not going to be disclosing any reservations going forward, so just be aware of that. Question number 2, brought on by 𝗖𝗓𝗓. We're almost 2 years away from 2025. When should we expect to hear new updates about the 50,000 mid-size SUV? So definitely, I think this one is a very good question, especially more so this is going to piggyback off of the Gravity success and the demand of that. So I think this is going to be a very good question, and clearly 1 million shares is represented by this as well, so definitely a pretty good thing in that regard. Also brought on by 𝗖𝗓𝗓, would you consider launching the Gravity with more price accessible trims first to attract more buyers considering the current economic conditions? So this one also is a pretty good question. This one will be a good telling one to see exactly their mentality. Are they going to be adjusting to the market, or do they somehow want the market to adjust to it, if that makes sense? So obviously there are some automakers out there that is resilient, that they do not want to change their price regardless of the economic conditions. So it's going to be interesting to see how they answer that one. And once again, 𝗖𝗓𝗓, so definitely he's pretty much on the ball. Majority of the questions brought on by him. But it does say, given the current lower than expected demand for the Lucid Air, are there any new plans to improve Lucid Motors marketing strategy and brand awareness? So in the past, I've kind of had some questions that I haven't necessarily liked, but so far all of these questions are on point. So definitely I think that's a pretty good one. This one is just a duplication of obviously that lower price question, so that one they probably won't answer. When do you expect to achieve positive free cash flow? This one they will not answer at all. They unfortunately can't even give 2023 guidance in the Q4 earnings. So definitely, Q3 earnings, they couldn't give any guidance. So definitely this one they will not answer. And they talk on obviously layoffs and so forth. One thing that I feel that people just have stopped caring about is this. I don't understand why this is number 8 or whatever it is. Any updates on AMP1 phase 2 progress? And do we have any updates on ESS? So this one, I think they've been very, very clear about that in reality, it is going to be done midway through the year. They've already tentatively scheduled the shutdowns on certain areas of the facility throughout to accommodate for this kind of transition. So this one, I think that we already know a lot of these questions, but this one, ESS, I personally want to know about ESS. And I'm surprised this isn't higher, or even this wasn't even asked at all during the Q4 earnings. So hopefully they do answer that, but most likely they will just answer these 3 questions. But even if they answer 4 or more, a lot of them are very good questions. But like I said, they typically like to avoid difficult questions, so I don't see them answering this one about the demand. Because of course, if Peter just outright says, well, for the Air Grand Touring more specifically, there's just lack of demand. That is not good, and that most likely would hurt the stock price more than anything. So I don't see them answering this exactly. So my own opinion, of course, I'm not a financial advisor, so you guys do your own due diligence at the end of the day. As far as earnings going into that, there are several different things people care about. There's earnings per share, revenue, there's also kind of how much they're burning through cash. But what analysts do kind of estimate is based on earnings per share. You can see that there is 7 estimates, and they do have an average of -41 cents. So not any new ones getting in. So that's basically what is expected. It was recently lowered as well. So I don't know if a lot of people are assuming because of the layoffs, that does mean that their earnings per share is, and their expenses were a little bit higher in Q1. So that's something that you need to kind of be aware of. And normally what does happen is they always kind of miss on their earnings per share. So that's something just to be aware of. And when it comes down to, for instance, revenue, as you can see, there is 7 analysts. So one analyst just recently got in based on that. Very bullish, in fact, because it did raise it from 204 to 209.88 million. So maybe they are assuming that there's some additional revenue coming down the pipeline, maybe from Formula E potentially, or maybe something other than that. I'm not sure, but definitely that's a pretty good thing in that regard. So those are the benchmarks that you'll need to kind of watch for going into the earnings. But like I said, I do feel that it is more so around these questions because it's not at the stage right now that people are going to care overly about earnings per share. They would rather get production down pat and ensure that, for instance, there is no true underlying problems. I think that's what investors and analysts are really looking at, rather than, like I said, earnings per share. But once again, I could be very much wrong. On a side note, I'm going to be live streaming the earnings, so make sure you guys stay tuned. I'll jump on maybe about 15-20 minutes before just to go over the tentative results, because by that time, obviously they would have come out already. But like I said, as of right now, the time of doing this video, there isn't any new SEC filings, no press releases that I haven't covered already in a video. But when it comes down to, for instance, Saudi Arabia, 2030 vision, and so forth, this is why when you are investing in Lucid, you are kind of investing in Saudi Arabia as well. More specifically, their infrastructure. So I've already covered quite a few times on the previous videos on how they're building kind of a bubble. They want to be a hub, and in general, they have the money to do so. So especially based on, for instance, a lot of the railroads and transportations, Saudi Arabia can definitely get all the necessary supplies to ensure, obviously, the 2030 vision, all of the companies within that kind of umbrella would succeed, including Lucid. And as well, vice versa, they can actually get a lot of those vehicles out. So definitely, I think this is a very good thing that, for instance, Saudi Arabia, even in among itself, they are investing in their infrastructure. And on a side note, I'm a very big fan of, for instance, Messi, Ronaldo, depending on who you guys see as the better GOAT. But regardless, he's been obviously appointed as a tourism ambassador for Saudi Arabia, so it would be absolutely epic to see if he, for instance, is driving a Lucid. Imagine what that would do. Because when the World Cup was on, I was so annoyed the fact that Lucid kind of dropped the ball in marketing. They didn't need to spend millions and millions of dollars on any marketing. All they had to do is set up a booth somewhere in those locations in Qatar, and that would kind of bring up the hype and momentum behind the scenes. And kind of, there is a lot of people that did attend a lot of those World Cups, and plus in the region, that would see these amazing vehicles. So again, I feel that their marketing has been subpar. So it kind of goes back to one of these questions. I do believe they talk on marketing as well. So marketing strategy and brand awareness. So definitely, I think it's all encumbered, and hopefully we'll do better in the future. But once again, let me know you guys' thoughts on all of this in the comments below. Is there any questions that you feel that I didn't bring up, that maybe you think that would be a better question to potentially ask for? Or just generally speaking, what is your take on the upcoming earnings? Do you think it's going to be positive? Do you think it's going to be negative? What is your take on that? My own opinion, of course, I do feel that there is going to be a little bit more of a tentative sell-off as a result. But like I said, I feel that a lot of people deep down know that this is is the last bad earnings for Lucid, so it is going to get bought up very, very fast. And based on some of the big transactions that have been occurring, it does look like big money has been getting in over the last couple of days, so definitely something to very much consider. So once again, let me know you guys' thoughts on all of this in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And one final thing I just wanted to share with you, take advantage of this promo, link in the description below and also the comments. Sign up for a free account, you get one free stock. Each stock is valued up to $2,000, so it is a complete no-brainer. And Moomoo does also offer $0 commission, free level 2 trading, so take advantage of this promo while you can. So link in the description below and also the comments, like I said. And without further ado, I appreciate you guys watching, and let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.